Hey guys, so I've done it. I've planted my first cover crops, and in this episode I'm going to be sharing with you how it all went down, and in a second part video I will talk about termination and what we plan to do with all the biomass. Briefly, the benefits of cover crops in general are, firstly, like the name implies, they cover the earth, which is what the earth needs to regenerate. Leaving soil bare contributes to soil erosion, nutrient loss, excessive soil heat, loss of organic matter, which is food for the microbes, and of course lack of moisture. The life in soil, including the organic matter in soil that feeds this life, is what gives structure to soil, which aerates it, helps to retain moisture for longer to sustain the life. I had 2 patches of bare earth. On one side, I planned to plant an indigenous fynbos garden, and on the other patch, I intend to grow vegetable crops. On the fynbos side, I don't want to add nitrogen back into the soil because fynbos typically does not have high nutrient requirements and can actually even be damaged or killed when planted in too rich soils. Here, I just wanted to get some life back into the soil and a bit of structure and something to help with erosion. I chose black oats for this side. This variety is called Saia oats or Avena strigosa, as opposed to the common oats we all know as Avena sativa. Oats is an annual grass. It's a great winter cover crop that thrives in cool, moist conditions in well-drained soil and is said to be a great cover crop for beginners. It is a brilliant suppressor of weeds, prevents erosion, and scavenges excess nutrients, also providing loads of biomass both above and below ground, adding organic matter and carbon back into the soil. On the other patch, I chose to interplant 2 types of legumes, although after having done more research, I haven't heard of others who have interplanted these 2, so I'm hoping it's not a mistake, but I'll soon find out. I've planted vetch and red clover in this section, both having the potential to fix nitrogen back into the soil. Both have a tendency to become so-called weeds, so if one does not intend to regrow them on their patch of land, one should definitely not allow them to mature fully and go to seed. The vetch that I've planted is inoculated with a bacteria that's supposed to help it grow, and this is because one doesn't know if that bacteria is available in the soil already. Today is the day. It's the 2nd of April, 2022. It's one day after new moon. Autumn has officially arrived. It's a beautiful, crisp morning. We've unfortunately got a lot of wind today, and today is the day that I am planting cover crops to address the poor soil conditions before the winter rains arrive. So this is the first time I'm doing this. I started off by raking this side. I also had to move that pile of wood to the side and move stuff around. So I'm starting with the vetch. It's the biggest seeds out of the bunch. Because I only have 1 bag of seeds, I've decided to draw lines with a stick in the sand, and I'm going to try and plant individually by spacing roughly to see how far I get down this hill. red clover, and that I'm just going to broadcast. Now I'm just going to throw it wildly over this whole area before I lay down a sprinkling of compost. I'm very excited about planting this. I actually drink dried red clover as an infusion for health benefits, and like the vetch, it's a nitrogen fixing. I think it falls under the category legume, or in the pea family. Vetch and red clover attract pollinators, so once they go to flower, but of course we need to be careful about when we terminate the plant before it goes completely to full flower, and definitely before it goes to seed, because the whole purpose is not to regrow it, but to use it as biomass as well as a soil conditioner. So I've mixed some compost with some of the normal dirt around here, and I'm going to be using this to cover the seeds lightly. You can kind of see that there's something darker on top, and that's the compost sprinkled lightly. And yeah, didn't quite get down to the bottom. That's with planting of the seeds as well as the compost. And I'm hoping that our first rains that come aren't hectic, because that means before the seeds are established, because otherwise the seeds are just going to roll down as well as the compost down to the bottom. So the next 2 weeks are going to be critical for watering. Unfortunately, I don't have a tank down here yet, so I don't have any rainwater, and I'm going to have to use municipal water, so it's going to be a hectic water bill from that, but I have no choice. I'm hoping there's rains in between so that I don't have to water every single day, but initially I'm going to be doing a heck of a lot of watering. Maybe the first couple of days I might have to water twice a day. It's Sunday and it's black oats planting day. I have raked the ground, which has been quite a task because the soil on this side is rather much rockier than I expected. I've prepared the land as best as I can. I'm gonna just spread the black oats around. I'm just gonna be throwing it wildly about. And then I've got a bag of compost up there that I will use to just sort of scatter around. And then, yeah, water. Hey guys, so it's Tuesday after the planting of the cover crops, and we had heavy rain last night, so I was a little bit stressed out about the seeds maybe washing down the slope. So I had a look this morning. I actually conducted a test yesterday by watering a little bit too much and seeing what happens with the runoff, and I noticed that the oat seeds stayed put quite nicely without being washed down, and I wasn't really sure what was going on with the vetch and the clover. So I decided to come and look now to see what's happening. There definitely was a lot of runoff because, again, the ground is completely bare on a slope and it's sandy soil. So let's have a look. So again, this is the side we planted the black oats on, and I'm still seeing seeds lying around. Now obviously I did sprinkle some compost, and ideally one should probably cover with a thin layer of soil, but I didn't really have the resources and energy to do that on my own over the weekend. So I have been quite worried about it. You can see all the signs of runoff from the rain. Hoping that the majority of the seeds have stayed put, and that maybe the rain had actually helped to bed them in a little bit. Yeah, you can still see the seeds lying on the surface. I don't really know what to do about it because obviously the birds might also be an issue when they start germinating, and some might not germinate as well. So let's have a look on this side where we planted the vetch and clover. So I'm seeing signs of germination here, and I'm pretty sure that that's all the clover because I was quite generous with the clover. And then the vetch, that's the vetch, and it looks like it's germinating. Here's some more. So that's great. It's not ideal that it's lying on the surface, so I'm going to see what I can do today about, even if I can find any sort of way of covering the vetch and a little bit. But it's not as bad as I expected. I thought all the seeds would have washed down the hill, but they seem to stay put quite nicely mostly. So fingers crossed that they can take hold. We're expecting more rain tonight, so it's actually just been perfect. So after assessing the situation, I decided that I needed to do some damage control. I had a 20-liter bucket of normal dirt that was in a big planter that was sort of abandoned by the previous owner, and there was nothing in it except for this dirt. It's probably not very good quality. It's spent, lifeless dirt, but I decided to use it. It's because it's quite sandy and heavy. To lay it down on the one side where I've got the oats, so that there's a tiny bit of something covering the seeds. So I've done that, and then in the spots where I didn't have enough of the dirt to cover the seeds, I got a rake and kind of moved the dirt around a bit. The earth just sort of disturbed it to move it around a bit, and then pressed it down as much as I could with the rake again, with the flat side of the rake, to sort of bed it in. So I've done a bit of damage control here on the side with the black oats, and I'm gonna see what I can do about the vetch and clovers. Some of the vetch seeds are planted deep enough in for me, for my liking. Here's another one that's sprouting a bit, and it looks quite bedded in enough, although I can just cover it up a little bit lightly. An interesting observation after planting, well, quite a few days after, 4 or 5 days, well, yeah, 6 days, is look at this accumulation of seeds. This is black oats in one spot. I'm trying to figure out how this happened, and finally I figured it out. Ants. This is an ant hole there. There. You can see the ants there. And it looks like they've been very busy moving the seeds around, which could be what's slowing down the germination process, because been moving the seeds around when the seeds need to stay put. This is where I found the clover seeds. It's not as visible now because I've already kind of tried to spread them out, but they were all bunched together in this spot. And again, it was the ants moving them into one place, which is quite interesting. I don't see a nest hole. So you remember yesterday I was telling you about the seeds that were piling up in one spot, and I kind of spread them out again. Well, they've piled up in the same spot again, and as you can see, the culprits are indeed these guys, these big ants. There's like a nest there or something. There's a hole there that they're going in and out of. And I've decided, seeing as this is the third time now I've dispersed these seeds again and found them back in the same spot again, that I'm just gonna let it be, because enough of the clover is sprouting up to be sufficient, I hope. And these guys can just go on enjoying themselves with the seed. And I'm kind of hoping the birds can also then just take from here rather than trying to steal elsewhere. Clearly the vetch that I planted, the ants didn't take because it's too heavy and big for them to carry.